Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Better Than I Found It podcast. I'm Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University, and my guest today is former Baylor Golf All-American Garrett May. Garrett will share his experiences as a member of our golf team, and he describes very candidly how his time at Baylor literally transformed him into the man he is today. He's honest and vulnerable about the struggles he had with emotionality on the golf course, and he explains how he actually begun to win some of those battles. So, without any further ado, let's get to the conversation with Garrett. Garrett May, welcome to the Better Than I Found It podcast. Really great to have you here today, Garrett. It's nice to have you in Waco anytime.
Yeah, glad to be here.
That's great. Well, I tell you what I want to kind of do is just talk about our time together, our experience together as a player coach, and bring it all the way through to today, where you are now, what you're doing now. But I'll go back in time and talk about the day I got the job at Baylor. And so I'd been on the job one day, and I get a call from Jeff Jones. And I remembered who Jeff was, but I didn't know what he was doing, at the time. I didn't know what he was doing in 2014, certainly. And he reintroduced himself and said, hey, I just want you to know I'm teaching players in Texarkana, and got this really, really good young player named Garrett May. He's not been noticed by very many coaches right now. Do you remember about that time, June of 2014?
Yeah. I wasn't. He said that because I really wasn't a very good junior golfer. I had spurts of goodness and greatness and stuff like that, but as far as like the typical AJGA pedigree or whatever, I just didn't have that. I never played well enough in big events. I think I got like second in the Big I one year, I think maybe third, I can't remember, but I was really flying under the radar. I was a great player in my own right, but just didn't really have much of a resume to go behind it. So
well, and Jeff was talking to me about that. He said, he's just a small town boy from Hope, Arkansas. He hasn't really gotten out and spread his wings yet, but this will be a big summer for him. So if you do me a favor, Coach, watch him play. And I said, I'll make that happen. Well, the truth is I didn't actually see you play, but it did correspond with you a bunch that summer. And can you remember any of that correspondence we had? Or?
Not really. To be honest, this is going to be funny, I really didn't know who you were.
Attaboy, Garrett. Way to go.
When I first started this, I remember JD, my stepdad, telling me Coach McGraw got the Baylor job, and I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. And then, but at the same time, I was like, I don't really know who that is. But then I did research and realized who you were, and I was like, oh, okay, I needed to probably pay more attention. But I remember the first time you actually saw me play was at Mira Vista on like the 7th hole, and I hit this little wipey cut to like right side of the green, and I had already committed at that point, so you didn't even see me hit a golf shot before I committed. Well,
so that's fact, and that's never happened once in my career. It's only happened one time in my career where I actually have a player on my team that I did not see hit a golf shot. And
I could be left-handed for all you know.
Could have been, and you could have been 6'4" for all I know, but you weren't that either.
No, never been that.
So I did trust Jeff Jones's ability to evaluate and his recommendation of you as a player. The very first thing he told me was that, Coach, he's a really high-spirited kid, but extremely dedicated, wants to be a great player, has all that. So let's just give him a watch. And so we corresponded that summer. You had gone to a college golf camp, and a bunch of coaches got interested in you there. I think you qualified for the U.S. Amateur. Then you went to the Trusted Choice Big I.
Yep.
And finished third in West Virginia. So your resume was building nicely over the summer. And you played in the USAM, didn't make the match play, but you played, which was great for a 17-year-old to be in the USAM. And you committed to come and take a visit. So you were going to take an official visit on September 1st through the 3rd, and I'll never forget those dates. September 1st, we opened McLean Stadium in a football game against SMU, and it was really great. It was a fun game. But you did something on that visit that's never happened in my coaching career. You know what that was?
Oh, I committed right on the visit.
You committed on the visit. Tell me a little bit about that, because I honestly did not expect it. I thought we were just going to get to know each other.
I really didn't think anything of it. I had taken all of my visits that I wanted to. I'm not going to list the names. I'm just going to say I took all the visits that I wanted to. Baylor was the last one. And, it wasn't like... To me, it wasn't like a rushed decision, because I did have a couple of days on campus. I saw the campus, realized it was beautiful. Golf program was all I would want it to be. You were obviously great. And it just kind of happened that I was like, you know what? There's no need to drag this out. This is where I want to be. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. I'm committed.
Well, it was funny because Braden Bailey, who had already committed to Baylor, to Greg Priest before I ever got this job, he was surprised. He didn't know you were going to commit either. That's what he told me later. So maybe you kind of snuck it in and told him on the visit, but I don't even think he knew you were going to.
No, I don't. And nobody knew. And it was so funny. This was so new to me, this whole college golf deal, because, I was small town, so nobody really played golf like I was doing it back home, and nobody was really committing to places, at the time. So I didn't know how this all worked, and I didn't realize how surprised it was to commit on the visit.
Well, I'm glad you did, obviously, but I didn't even know you. That's the crazy part about this. I took a recommendation of a guy who's a really well-respected instructor, and he did say you were high-spirited. Understatement. Well, he did understate that one for sure, because let's talk a little bit about, because that's a big part of our story together, is I think your high-spiritedness on a golf course would often spill over into total emotional outbursts.
For sure.
And so you struggled with a little bit with discipline, certainly with self-control, maybe some poor habits, definitely over outbursts on the golf course of emotion. So that's kind of dominated your freshman year in college. If you just talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to tell everybody who's listening that Coach McGraw allowed me to play pro golf. I don't think any way you cut it, if I didn't have Coach McGraw, I wouldn't play pro golf at all. I wouldn't be the person or the golfer that I would be right now. So for that, I can't thank you enough, Coach. But yeah, I struggled with perfectionism. Still do, obviously, all my life. I just really, I knew you hit a shot on the range and you hit it perfect, and you just think you can do that every time. And when you see a shot on the golf course and you want to pull it off and you don't, it's just really hard for me to let that go. And so junior golf was kind of that same way. I always struggled with that. And then freshman year, it kind of, I came to college, wanted to blaze my own trail and just really get this thing rolling. And when, you come into college with the same game as a junior and you're not that good and hit some bad shots, I don't know. I just really had a hard time getting some emotional maturity. And so I would be really explosive on the golf course. I would be get really down on myself. I'd have really big highs, but also really big lows, just because I was kind of living and breathing and dying off of one shot.
And age has certain advantages, experience, sort of wisdom, sort of the things that I've seen and experienced. So I had that in my bank, if you will. You didn't have all that. All you had was a brand new experience, and you brought to college, what you kind of had, and there was no, changing that. That's who you were at the time. So what we had was, okay, this is a new kid, brand new. He's really talented. I know he's got a lot of game, but what he's doing won't play very well at this level. It certainly won't play at the next level. And I remember telling a player one time, a long time ago, and I won't mention his name, but I looked at him and I said, we'll call him Johnny. Johnny, do you know I can see into the future? And he said, what are you talking about? He said, I can see your future, and it's not in golf. So I'm seeing your future. Now, it may be in business, it might be in something else, but if you continue what you're doing, you're not going to play pro golf. This won't work. Now, I realize there are some things about what you do that will work in pro golf. So in my opinion, I looked at a guy who was extremely driven, extremely motivated, very talented, hardworking, driven. I mean, you had all of these things going for you, but you derailed yourself. Not every round, but many, many, many rounds because you just had too much emotionality about you. So you didn't really see that right off the bat, did you, or did you?
No, I knew it. I knew that it was a problem. The problem was I didn't have the ability and the knowledge to stop it. And it's kind of like a race car that's running too hot. Mm-hmm. You know, RPMs are really up there. You know, it can be really, when it's riding good, it's fine. But then it gets to a point to where the engine blows. And that's kind of where it was. I was always running hot, always running high. And so when I was playing good, it was fine. But then one thing happens and the engine blows. And so it just took some time to back off the RPMs and start playing a little bit more calm.
Well, if you think about it, if you plan on playing golf for another 30 years or more, I mean, I know you do, you can't play at a constant state of angst or stress. There's got to be a way to relieve that. That's like a volcano, or like the seismologist, where the tectonic plates are pushing past each other, and then if it builds up, eventually there's going to be an earthquake. And so you had to find ways to release it, and you didn't know how to do it at first. And so that's what we're going to talk about here today, is just kind of our walk together. And you've described your freshman year, and it ended not the way you wanted it. You didn't play at conference, regionals, or nationals for Baylor. And I know that was disappointing for you. Can you describe that?
No, I mean, it was. I mean, my roommate was too, Braden. We roomed together freshman year, and he was playing every event, playing well too. Mm-hmm. And then played conference, regionals, and nationals. And, I mean, looking back on it now, I mean, I don't really, it's fine.
Right,
it happened. Sure. But at the time, you know, that hurts. You see a guy that's the same year as you doing the things you want to do and all that, and nobody put me in that situation other than myself. You didn't do it, Braden didn't do it, nobody else did, it was me. So yeah, it was that was not how I wanted to end it, because obviously I wanted to, you know, like I said, blaze my own trail and start college golf and be this new golfer. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't happen that way. Well,
doesn't. And you needed the experience you had as a freshman to kind of set the stage for the rest of it. But I'd like to tell everybody that, okay, that freshman year got by him. He was too emotional. He knew he had to make some changes, and that everything was perfect from then on. But as you and I know, it wasn't. But, you know, no. I will say this. Regardless of the confrontations you and I had for a 4-year period, and there were many, not one time did you show me a lack of respect, not one single time. And I look back on that, and I know there were plenty of times you were angry with me. There were plenty of times you were unhappy with the decision I may have made, but you were man enough that it never, ever spilled over into, this is your fault, coach, or I don't like you, or I don't like the way you do things, or whatever. You took responsibility for it. So I'll give you a high A+ grade on the way you've treated me as a coach. So I always have appreciated that.
Well, I mean, as mad as I would get on the golf course and the lack of emotional maturity that I had, I still like to think of myself as a smart person. And I always knew that it was never you who did it. You didn't hit the golf shot. You were just trying to coach me. And I knew that from the get-go. Even when I was the most mad I've ever been, you know, vision's turning red, you know, I knew that you wanted to coach me. And so I couldn't show you disrespect. I mean, it's not my place.
Well, but as emotionally immature as you were, you had a very mature approach to that. Because, I mean, that's what we do this for. That's why we coach as coach, is to take a guy like you that's completely different than anybody I've ever even coached, ever. And I wish I'd have had the self-confidence you have as a young player. I'd have been a whole lot better. I didn't have it. You've got a lot of self-confidence. You believe, honestly, you probably have always believed you're a little better than you actually were. And that's what drove you and made you better, I think. But so we finished that freshman year. We had a nice meeting. Coming back next year, coach, I'll be ready. Had a good summer. And then we come in and we have qualifying for our first tournament. And we didn't play well at Olympia Fields as a team. I think you might have been our low score. I'm not sure. But we went to Arizona and played at a course called Mirabel. And as I recall, that was your first breakout tournament at Baylor. I think you shot 66, 69, 66. I mean, you were in the 60s all 3 rounds. You finished about third, and we finished second to LSU. Mm-hmm. So it was a great, great tournament. And then that kind of springboarded you through the rest of the fall. And so I have a memory of, and that was very good playing there at Mirabel, by the way. Do you remember that tournament?
I remember it very well. Yeah, I love that golf course. It's set up really good to me. The fairways were ginormous.
Oh, they were big.
They're huge. And so literally nothing off the tee scared me because I've always been a good driver of the ball. And I just remember I just played really well. I remember I was in the final group, not the last round. I don't know, I was in the final group, but I knew I was playing with Sam Burns.
Yep.
And I knew him a little bit from junior golf. He's from Shreveport. I'm from Texarkana. It's pretty close. And he was obviously a really, really good player. And so it kind of gave me a little bit more fire to play well. And I shot 66 last round, and it was a lot of fun. But I do remember playing really well at that tournament. It was like the first tournament, other than the Gopher, my freshman year. The first tournament. I finished top 10, my first ever college event. But other than that, Mirabel was where I first saw a really good play out of myself. Yeah,
and you beat a lot of really good players. So and you were our best finisher that week, and we ended up playing very well. But I remember later that semester we hosted at Royal Oaks in Dallas every year, and I remember walking with Cooper Dossie, who was a freshman, and you were a sophomore, and you were in the group in front of us, and it was the final round. Our team was winning by a lot, and so we were playing well. And we got a little behind on 10, and I got up to the 11th tee, and I was looking through my rangefinder, and I saw you make a swing. You were the group in front of us, but you made a swing on a par 3, number 12. So we're a full hole behind you guys. And I saw the club fall out of your hands and kind of an overreaction, and, okay, that must not have been very good. Anyway, so after the round, you had shot 41 in the last 9 holes to finish 13th. And you were in the hunt to win that day. You were going to win your first college tournament, possibly. And very bad back 9. And the next, I didn't say anything to you that day. We won the tournament. And the next day, when you had filled out your summary, your tournament summary of what you did, you didn't mention that tee shot or any sort of meltdown or anything. And so we're having our meeting, and I said, Garrett, what happened on 11 green at Royal Oaks, the final round? You looked at me like stunned, like, he wasn't there. How did he know about this? And I didn't see it. And I didn't even know what had happened, but I knew something had to happen to create that reaction on a 5-iron par 3 where the ball ended up in the left fringe. And you had that kind of reaction. So you remember that moment?
To this day, I still don't remember that golf swing.
You don't remember the golf swing?
Idea.
Well, it's etched indelibly upon my memory.
That's so funny.
Because I asked you about it. You said you don't remember it, but you did something on 11 green.
You know what? I remember that doesn't surprise me because so many things happened that I don't necessarily remember, but it doesn't surprise me if I reacted that way because it's all about expectations for me. And especially when I get in the hunt, you know, you expect to win, and every shot carries a little bit more weight. And when you elevate the expectation, you can, and when it doesn't happen, it elevates how negative you feel towards it. And so that's probably what happened. You know, I might have 3-putted 11. I don't know. I'm trying to remember that round.
Well, you told me about it, and I wrote it down, but you told me you were probably in a fog at that moment in time when you hit that shot. You don't even remember. But you had hit a poor wedge shot into a bunker, dead, hit the best bunker shot of your life to 4 feet and missed a straight uphill 4-footer. And that caused the reaction on the next hole, and then you just had a whole series of debacles on the back 9. And anyway, so following that tournament, I just want you to know I've never really talked to you about this, but Coach Blagg, my assistant coach at the time, and we tried to figure out how we thought we had a very good team that year, but we knew you needed to be playing the best golf you could for us to be that great team. And so I just said, well, I'm gonna walk with him every round this spring. I'm just going to, and it's going to be tough because I'm going to have to talk him off a ledge a lot, like 3 or 4 times around. And so let's kind of move our way into the spring of 2017. Okay. We knew we had a good team. I think we were ranked about 5th in the country, and we did some special things that spring as a team, and you were one of the biggest reasons why. So I walked every step of the way with you, starting from the first tournament. You remember the first tournament where we played?
No.
Houston.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that when I shot 67 or 65?
65. You had a 9 birdie 7 under par 65 the middle round. And
I remember this is exactly the example that I just talked about. You know, Houston, I played well. Second round 65 to get me in contention. I think I was 12 under after 2 rounds, maybe, or maybe 10. I can't remember. But anyway, I was really close to the lead, and the third round, you know, I really wanted to win. Obviously, really wanted to win, and didn't have the start that I wanted. And we were kind of talking, going down like maybe 4 and then 5. And I asked you on 5 fairway, I was like, Coach, do you think I can win this golf tournament? And you really didn't give me the answer I wanted. I wanted you to say, yes, Garrett, you can definitely win this golf tournament.
What did I say?
You were like, why are you worried about that? Let's just worry about the next shot. You're trying to keep me in the right headspace. And I was already, you know, I was trying to play the golf tournament with the trophy already in my hand. And I think Cooper ended up winning that week.
He did.
And,
played great.
You know, I didn't feel any negative feelings towards him. I mean, he didn't do anything. But I remember I was so worried about winning the golf tournament that I couldn't play a good round of golf. You know, you have to play the round of golf, then win the tournament. You cannot play golf with one hand on the trophy. And I was playing like the trophy was already mine. I just had to go finish. And I just put a lot of expectations on myself, and I didn't handle it well.
And you did something you did at Royal Oaks. You shot 41 in the back 9 and finished about 13th again. But as a tournament, you should have won. And I remember the spot where it kind of changed for you that round is number 9. You missed about a 4-footer for a par, and that's a long, long walk over to 10T at Golf Club of Houston. And anyway, long story short, it was a rough back 9. Emotionally, you lost control again. And I tried not to talk to you about it right out. And we won that tournament. Came back and beat Vanderbilt that day, which was a big win for us.
Or Auburn. Was it Auburn?
I think it was Vanderbilt that day. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, you're right.
So I called David Cook, Dr. David Cook, who's a Baylor graduate and a well-respected sports psychologist. And I said, David, I'm really struggling. I'm going to walk every round with Garrett this spring. And I got to tell you, it's hard. It's tough. Garrett was really, really hard this last tournament on the last 9 holes. He struggled. He was so angry and so mad and out of control emotionally. And I said, what would you suggest I do? I'm going to walk every round with him. He says, well, what I want you to do, and this was pure genius in my mind, he said, carry a golf tee, just one tee, and every time Garrett starts to have an explosion, you hand him the golf tee and you just walk to his golf ball. You don't react. You don't even say, Garrett, settle down. What that tee is going to represent is Garrett's anger. And you stand over his next shot. You stand over the ball until he gets there and do not let him hit a golf shot until he hands you the tee back, showing that, okay, Coach, I've dealt with this anger. Let's go play this next shot. And I remember asking you about that before we went to Cabo, and you said, I don't know. Let's try it. I'll try anything because I want to get better. And that was the real key that I want everybody out there listening to know is it's not like you were fighting me. You wanted to get better. You wanted to be coached. Yeah, it's something you wanted. And so I had to look outside what I was doing. And David Cook, and that tee started working. It was the craziest thing ever. You'd start to get really explode and get unhappy. I would hand you the tee and I'd just walk away. And you'd know that was a cue to, okay, I got to figure this out before I hit the next shot. You remember that pretty well?
Yeah, it's really funny because the tee is kind of silly in its own right, but it really just did a good job of distracting me. And the reason it worked is a lot of times when you'd hand me the tee, I wouldn't even get that mad because I would realize you're giving me the tee to get mad. And I was like, I realized that, and I was like, well, I don't need to get mad now. Now that I realize, because getting mad to me was second nature. It was just something that happened. It came naturally. And so when I got the tee and had to say, okay, this is my time to get mad, I wouldn't even really get mad.
Isn't that funny how that worked? And Dr. Cook knew that would happen. And so as we went through the spring, it worked better and better. You finished second at Cabo in a great field. And honestly, had kind of a bad break at the end, but played beautifully there. So you went through that spring, and it was really, really a good spring. And I was using that tee. I still have that tee in my desk. I may take it out and use it for somebody again one day, but I still have that same tee.
A lot of anger in that.
It does have a lot of anger in that tee. But Dr. Cook had helped me find a way to get to you, and it was working. And so I remember we were at Linger Longer, and one of the toughest tee shots is a par 3, number 8. It's this 5-iron par 3 with a narrow green and death on both sides, terrible collection areas. And you hit the most beautiful 5-iron in there about 15 feet. It was just like awesome. I mean, we're going to gain a shot on the field here because people couldn't hit the green and they couldn't get it up and down. And sure enough, you 3-putted from 15 feet. And I handed you the tee, and I just wanted to walk to the next tee because I thought you'd kill me. And so I'm over on the next tee trying to get the yardage to cover this bunker. There's a fairway bunker down there on the left. And what kind of club? And all of a sudden I hear this barrage of anger and just words coming up, not such good words either, coming toward me. And I thought, okay, Garrett's dealing with it right now. He's dealing. And I look up just in time for this tee to, bang, hit me right in the chest. You had thrown the tee at me.
That's a little exaggeration. No. I didn't throw the tee at you. I just tossed the tee at you.
Well, okay.
I honestly thought you were looking at me. Okay. I thought you were wanting the tee back, and I just kind of tossed it. Looking back on it, it's really funny.
All I know is I thought he just threw the tee at me. And I looked at that tee on the ground, and I said, Garrett, I don't think you've fully dealt with this anger you're feeling right now. Coach, I'm fine. Okay, we're not hitting the shot until you're ready. But the honest truth is you played 3 under par in the back 9, ended up finishing top 10 there, and that you just kept a great spring going. And so we were dealing with it. Now, was it a Band-Aid? I don't know. But at least you were getting to the point where it's like, okay, I know we're making progress. And I think you went from 300th in the fall in college golf to about 35th. So all these top 5 finishes, great finishes you were having, was really, really showing some progress. So let's get to Prairie Dunes. We've been ranked number 1 in the country for the first time in the history of the program. For 2 weeks, we were ranked number 1. We go to the conference championship, one of the teams to beat. We're playing very well. And the first day, the wind blew 50 miles an hour, and they had to cut 36 holes down to 18. Mm-hmm. And you shot a really solid 73 that first round, which doesn't sound that great. But you're in second place.
Played great.
So I told you, since you were going to tee off last the next day on a 36-hole day, they'd moved to 36, that I was going to go out with one of our players who had struggled the day before and walk the first 3 holes with him. And the third green was basically the third fairway and the first fairway met. I would just come over and find you there and take you for the rest of the day. And we had 2 lost balls on the third hole, so I missed you on the first fairway. So you'd gotten to the first green. By the time I'd gotten there, you'd already made a bogey on 1. Do you remember the conversation we had on 2T?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
That, you know why you don't remember it?
I mean, honestly, whatever you're going to say, I'm not going to even argue with because...
There's no reason to argue. But no, the truth is you were out of your mind at that moment. You were so angry about what had just happened. And that may be the only time, you didn't mean to be disrespectful, but you were so angry you were not in the moment. And I remember you said a couple of things that you wouldn't want to say or repeat out loud very often.
Right.
And so anyway, I took off my sunglasses and I said, Garrett, come on. You can do better than that.
Yeah.
Come on, Garrett. Are you kidding me? And then... So I settled you down, and then I gave you the wrong club, and you airmailed the green and buried it into the back lip of a sand dune behind the green. So now you make a double on that hole.
Yep.
And I took the heat on that one. That was mine. But you kind of meandered your way through the rest of that front 9, really struggling emotionally. And walking off the 9th tee down the hill, I thought, I've had enough. I can't take this anymore. And so I kind of started chewing you out. Mm-hmm. But I used some choice words. Do you remember those words?
I don't remember exactly what I think. Yeah. Like, this is effing ridiculous or something like that. And that word was never even in any dictionary in your life ever. And it came out and I was like, what the heck?
Well, the reason I did it, and I don't think you knew it at the time, but the reason I did it was to show you how bad that sounds coming out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels the same way when you're doing it. So I think for the first time, you go, okay, now I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
I've got to control these emotional outbursts. Anyway, we could belabor this point over and over and over. But suffice it to say, we got through that day. We got through the rest of the conference championship.
You didn't walk with me the rest of the
I didn't walk you
the rest
of the year. I actually kind of said, hey, Garrett, I want you to do this on your own, and your teammates need you. And you're playing great, so let's just use it. And we did well. We breezed through our regional. We won the regional at Stanford. Mm-hmm. And then we came to nationals at Rich Harvest Farms in Chicago and just played beautifully.
I think I remember it was the first time, Prairie Dunes was like the first time that I was actually kind of embarrassed about how I was handling myself, because here I am, I kind of realized what all was happening. I had taken you all semester. You were walking with me every round. And that was a little selfish. Another player could have used you one round during that time. But no, here I am having bad mental breakdowns, and you have to walk with me. And then here I am, Prairie Dunes. I just put you through the ringer so much that you couldn't even enjoy competition. So you leave me. And just thinking back to it, I was actually embarrassed. I was like, okay, I don't care how I play. I've got to just stop all this and start being like a good human. Otherwise, everybody's going to look at me like this weirdo that can't keep his mind straight. And I think that was the first time that I was actually self-conscious about how I was acting and kind of a little embarrassed, because I've got 4 or 5 other players, and then coaches looking at me like, dude, what's going on? Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, looking back on it, it seemed ridiculous. At the time, I just knew we needed to do it.
Yeah.
And I knew you weren't going to play pro golf. You weren't going to achieve your dreams if you continued in this mental state of mind. Now, surely people mature and they grow, but right now you're more mature than you were last year. I mean, you're getting more and more mature. But at that time, we needed you desperately. Mm-hmm. And so I'll give you credit, because you got through the rest of that season on your own, no problem, and you played well and helped us. And we made match play at the national championship. So we had a great year. But at our end of the year meetings, I said, okay, Garrett, now what you've built here has been great. Let's bring back something really special next fall. And so you played the worst qualifying of your college career before.
100%.
We were going to go to 2 tournaments in a row, one in Minnesota and Olympia Fields. So we were qualifying for the first one, and then we were going to take 4 individuals to Minnesota with us. And you played very poorly in the qualifying, and I planned on taking you as an individual to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And describe that, because I think this is probably the most mature thing you did in college.
Obviously I played terrible, and I did struggle a little bit when you didn't take me. I was like, you know what, I realize I'm playing terrible, but he definitely could have given me a pick just because I was returning. I was on the team that won regionals, mm-hmm. Guys in one ranking in the country. Like, I had that going for me. And you didn't. And you took me to an individual tournament mm-hmm. in Minnesota. And the reason that was pretty hard is because obviously we're playing 2 events in a row, mm-hmm. and Olympia Fields was second. And by me going to the individual tournament in Minnesota, there was no way I was getting to Olympia Fields. And I really wanted to play Olympia Fields because that would be my 4th year in a row. And that's one of my favorite golf courses. And so that was tough. But I did tell you that I might as well go play good golf just because I hadn't been playing good golf, so it's obviously going to feel nice to play good. And number 2, there's no reason for me to go up there, just be mad and play bad.
Right. I love it was very mature, because at the time you basically told me good golf never feels bad. So if I go up there and play good, it's going to help me eventually. But you felt kind of hurt so we get up there and you shoot a final round, course record 63. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I've got this kid over here shooting 63, and I'm not taking him to Olympia Fields. So I decided to take you to Olympia Fields. We changed our flights, and you didn't go back with the other individuals to Waco. You went with us on the trip. You ended up playing Olympia Fields, and you played fine, nothing special. Maybe you finished 15th, I think.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so we came back to Waco, and I know you're still not over the hump, but you're making progress, and I can feel it. And you and I had made a deal, if I can go back in time. At the end of the NCAAs the year before, we had an end-of-the-year meeting, and I said, okay, here's the deal. I'm putting you on a 0 tolerance for meltdowns.
Yeah.
Now, not for slamming a club or getting upset or saying one bad word or whatever. That's not a 0 tolerance, because I know we're trying to get you out of that. But a total meltdown, no more. If you have a meltdown, you're not going to the next tournament. If you have a meltdown at a tournament, you can't qualify for the next one. Just meltdown means you don't get to do the thing you want to do.
Yep.
And so we're having a qualifying for the Jerry Pate tournament, and you are leading the qualifying. You're playing great. You've got some confidence going again, and I'm clear up on 11 tee, and you're down on the green, and you 3-putted or missed a short putt and had a complete, utter meltdown and threw your ball in the water and screamed bloody murder. And it was
Okay, I didn't scream, but...
Well, I heard it. It was a long...
Yeah.
See, that's the funny thing about it, is the perception of a coach and the perception of a player that's going through it.
No, you probably heard it. It just wasn't a scream.
Okay, I definitely heard it. And so that evening, I texted, after we finished the qualifying, I told the guys I would text the team that was going to go, and we would have practice the next day and leave the following day. And I texted these 5 players' names, and you were not one of them. And I think you'd won the qualifying. At very worst, you'd finished second. So I get a text from you that night.
I had to finish second because you always had a rule that if you won qualifying, you automatically went.
Boom.
So
okay. So, but I also had a deal with you.
That's true.
No meltdowns.
Which one trumped
that would
switch,
have trumped it, trust me. So you texted me, Coach, I don't understand. I played great. Why am I not going to Jerry Pate?
In my mind,
yeah.
I did kind of understand. I knew that you didn't just like randomly say, "Oh, he's not going to tournament." Like I knew, like
you knew what it was.
Okay, I was just hoping I was going to get away with it.
So I texted right back, Garrett, I'll be glad to talk to you about this, but we're not doing it over text message. I'll see you at practice tomorrow.
That burns me up.
Yeah, it really upset you there.
Sidebar, my girlfriend does the same thing. If we have something to talk about, I'll text her about it, and she'll be like, I don't want to talk about it over text. And I'm just like, no,
I got to talk about it.
I got to talk about it now. Like, we got to get this thing going.
Well,
I'm the most impatient person in the world.
Well, I just knew you needed to sleep on it anyway.
Yeah.
So came back the next day. You were already hitting balls when I got her. You came over, and you took your sunglasses off so you could see me eye to eye, and you said, Coach, can you explain to me? And I looked straight at you, and I said, yes, Garrett, I have a question for you. Do you remember the deal we made at Nationals last year? You said, yes, sir. So the deal was no meltdowns. A meltdown disqualifies you from whatever we're doing, a meltdown. You can still get upset, but you can't have any meltdowns. And you looked at me and said, yes, sir, I remember that. And I said, what happened yesterday on number 11, green? And you put your head down. You couldn't even look at me. And I said, Garrett, and you looked back up at me. He says, I had a meltdown. And I said, so that's the reason you're not going to Jerry Pate. And let me tell you one thing, Garrett. This hurts me. You think it hurts you, but you've just hurt the team. Because we're going to go down there with a team that's not as good as it would have been if you'd have been on the trip. And by the way, we ended up finishing third to Alabama and Auburn. And we were in the hunt with 2 holes to play and made some bogeys. But the point is we didn't have Garrett May on that trip. And one of your teammates told me in an end-of-the-year meeting at the end of that year, he said, the best thing you've ever done for Garrett May was leaving him home from Jerry Pate because it changed him a lot. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals that, I didn't get to do the thing I wanted to do. I didn't get to travel. I didn't get to go play. Didn't get the opportunity to grow. So yeah, that really hurt. And I had so many people telling me, oh, that's the best thing you can do for you. That's the best thing, and
didn't feel like it, did it?
No, I couldn't care less. I was like, you know what? I'd rather him just take me. And then finally I realized, I knew why you did it, obviously, but then it kind of became real to me and I started learning from it. And I think, I can't really pinpoint when exactly my attitude got so much better. I think it was kind of a brick by brick, day by day thing.
For sure.
But that was definitely a big catalyst in it because I realized that, I just hurt the team. I hurt myself. I hurt you because you obviously wanted to take me. You just couldn't. And it was all because in one round of qualifying, which I finished highly in, I got mad and had a meltdown, which was stupid. And now that I'm playing pro golf, looking back on it, if I think that one shot in qualifying my sophomore or junior year has any weight, I am so dumb. Mm-hmm. There are so many things bigger than one shot at Ridgewood.
For sure.
At qualifying. And time yields perspective. And I had 0 of it when I was playing qualifying.
Yeah, you were in the heat of the battle. By the way, this is a phone call you don't know about, but the the next afternoon after practice, I get a call from your stepdad, J.D. Wilson.
Yeah, you told me about this.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I've never told this story to anybody,
right.
But
yeah.
He was in Philadelphia, getting an airport, getting ready to fly back to Arkansas, and he said, "Coach, Garrett told me last night that he's not going to be going to the Jerry Pate this week." I said, "No, sir, he's not." He said he's not going because he had a meltdown during qualifying. Is that true? And I said, "Yes, sir, it is true." And he said, "Thanks, Coach. This is probably what's finally going to get Garrett where he needs to be. You've taken away the one thing that's never been taken away from him, and
right.
That is golf." And Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate it. And I think for sure, and I know your mom was unhappy because it's her little boy, it's her baby.
Right.
But she even knows that was a good thing later after looking back on it. So I guess I fault myself for not doing it earlier, if that makes sense. I could have done this earlier, and I tried everything I knew how. You were just a tough case. You were an emotionally charged, highly spirited guy, as Jeff Jones once told me. Mm-hmm. But and you didn't know that it was costing you a chance to be what you wanted, which is a great player. But I think at that moment, sort of and if we look at the rest of the year in just a summary, you went on to be an All-American that year at mm-hmm. Baylor. And we didn't play well at Nationals, which hurt all of us, but you played beautifully that year. And I know it was the start of something really good right there. And so we can go through your whole senior year. We don't need to go through all the details. But late in your senior year, the Sports Information Office had you write an article. It was they took seniors in college and had tell us what your time at Baylor has meant to you. It was called the Champions Tribune. Mm-hmm. And you wrote, honestly, you're a very good writer. You actually wrote a nice kind of summary of your time at Baylor and why it's meant so much to you. So let's just talk about why Baylor, or why coaching, or why your experience here changed you as a person.
Well, going through this deal about losing my cool on the golf course stuff, that honestly it doesn't stop at golf. It really doesn't. You'd like to think it does, and you'd like to think that you can leave, keep golf and life, but it bled over to anything. I was a very impatient person. I was a very tempered person. I had a temper. And golf definitely bled off into life. And so fixing golf, or at least getting better in golf, made me a better person. I had a different outlook. I started, appreciating things more, especially at Baylor. I mean, it's honestly crazy how many things we get when you're in college, playing college athletics. It's
amazing.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so, and not all of them, and a lot of kids know this, but a lot of them also go through their 4 years and don't fully understand and appreciate what they have. People can call me a super fan all they want to about Baylor and about you and stuff like that, but I really understand what I had for 4 years and I want 12 more years. So I think my senior year, I just really got a lot of perspective really quickly on golf and on life and what the university has done for me, what you've done for me. And so I just wrote about it in the Tribune. And I don't want to turn away or be scared of what I went through. I'm not ashamed to tell anybody. It's nothing that bad. I mean, I got mad. I got angry, and I had explosions. Who cares? Okay. It's not like I had anything crazy going on. And so I talked about that in the article. I said, listen, this is who I was, and because of Coach McGraw and because of university, this isn't who I am anymore.
Yeah, I love the title of that. I'm not that person anymore, meaning, I came in a good person, but I came in this way. I left a different person, and I think that's every coach's dream for every player, is that they can walk out of this experience after 4 years just kind of ready to go see life and tackle life and do whatever it is.
That title sounds so dramatic, like I am not that person anymore, as if I went through something crazy. And it was a hard battle, but honestly, my struggle does not compare to some things that people are going through. And I don't want to be I don't want to talk about this as if I'm overcoming the hardest thing in the world. I overcome a temper, basically.
Yep.
And yeah, it was hard, but I understand that that's not a very hard thing to do. Compared to the rest of the things in the world. So, yeah, I'm not that person anymore, but I don't want that title to be so dramatic.
No, it's not that dramatic. It's basically I changed.
Yes.
And I changed some things about myself that made me a better person, made me a better golfer. And, I was just looking at this photo of you and Colin Kober the moment you realized, it's on my wall here next to my desk, that we won the conference Big 12 match play championship.
Yep.
So that had to be a highlight for your senior year. I know it was for me.
Yeah.
For sure. We got you a ring, didn't we?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's pretty good. But, I appreciate the way you wrote in that Champions Tribune, because you were pretty revealing. I mean, you told a lot about you bared your soul, if you will. And the thing that I enjoyed most about it was the recognition that your time at Baylor did change you a little bit. It did have an impact on you. And that's all I want. I can't control those conference championships if we ever get one or never get one again or whatever, but I can have some impact on whether or not you walk out of here a different person. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about right after you got out of college, because you stayed amateur that whole summer.
Yep.
And you won a pretty big golf tournament up in the Northeast.
Yeah, I did. I think that was your recommendation, right? It was you and Coach Black both told me, like, pro golf's always going to be there. I didn't really have the huge pedigree coming out of college that some people do, so I wasn't really going to get any sponsors exemptions. Yeah. Okay, so and I was over my battle per se, but I was, I'm still coming off the heels of it. So it was nice to have like a summer in amateur golf to get some things done, and without doing it for real. And I had a good summer. I was playing good. And then I got to the Northeast Amateur, which was always my favorite tournament to play, just because I love the golf course, love the community. It just kind of was great. And I had, by and large, the best putting performance in the history of the game.
Wow.
For me. For you, for sure. For me. I made everything. It's just 600 in the first round. I don't remember. I knew I shot 4 under in the third round and then 4 over in the last round, but I had like a 5-shot lead. But anyway, I won the golf tournament, and it really solidified everything that I did, and kind of capped it off nicely. I played the Western Am after that and made match play. Played it really good, but having that win, so special to me. Because I didn't have a win in college other than that individual event in Minnesota. And so having like a prestigious win like that just meant the world to me. It was awesome.
Well, it was great for Baylor golf because we'd had Cooper won the North-South Amateur and Ryan Greider won the Texas State Amateur. We had a bunch of good things happening in a very short period of time. So it was exciting for me to see that. So essentially, since you graduated and had that good amateur summer, you've been playing for about 12 months now.
Yep.
Mini tour golf. So I want you to describe that for me. I remember playing mini tour golf in 83, 84, 85, and I know it's changed a lot, but what's it been like for you?
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. It's hard. Definitely a learning experience. Things are totally different. You're paying for everything. They pay you, but only if you play well. I did go to Q school last year. And I was at Craig Ranch for second stage, and I had this 9-footer straight up the hill, breaking a little left. And you just kind of know where you are on the leaderboard. And I lifted out hard.
Ouch.
Hard. And I missed final stage by 1 shot. And that hurt, obviously, because I felt like that would have been really cool to go through Q school my first year, get all the way through. Anyway, that didn't happen. And then I went to Latin America Q school. In the early spring, and got full status on the Latin America tour. So that was really cool. I was really excited to get on a tour, and then COVID happened.
Yeah,
and that was but mini tour golf's been fun. It's been a grind. You realize that how cool it is to play the PGA Tour, because all those expenses that you're thinking about don't even matter anymore. But it is interesting. An interesting dynamic to only play golf, and that's your only thing to do. Traveling, and that it's just golf. And so I've actually had more free time than I did in college, because when it's all golf, you do need to have times of rest and get out of the way. And so I do have a lot more free time that I can come down to Waco and see my girlfriend for a weekend and not pick up a golf club or go see some friends or something like that. It's not all golf, but it is.
Well, I love that. And I love another perspective you talked to me about earlier that I'd like for you to talk about right now, and that is when you're having dinner with a fellow mini tour pro, and just how important it is to be around the right influences.
Yeah, mini tour golf is interesting because you have a lot of different people. Obviously, I'm in my first year out, so I'm going to be pretty happy and excited. Yeah. But there are people out there that have been doing it for a long time. They might have had status. They might have had status somewhere and then lost it, or they're playing. They've done it for a while, 9, 10, 11 years, and they are just jaded. And they're, the system's against them. They're going to do this qualifier. They're going to do this qualifier, and it's just kind of like a big job for them. And I never want to get that way. I always want to feel like it's fun. And I'm not saying it's not fun for them, but they just they've been out there so long, it just beats them up.
Well, if I was going to suggest, don't ever eat dinner with that guy that's beat up by the game of golf, because he's going to bring you right down there with him. One of the things I try to teach every player that comes through Baylor is that you get 14 clubs in your bag, but you really get a 15th club, and that's enthusiasm. I'm serious. I know you guys think that's kind of corny, but the truth is, when you have that, then you got a lot. Because that right there, when you miss the cut by a shot, it keeps you moving forward. Or when you 3-putt the last hole to lose a golf tournament, you don't lose the enthusiasm and the excitement of what you're doing. So this kind of energy you've had for your first year of pro golf, if you've got it 10 years from now, same energy, then that's a great accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? I know you've got a few more tournaments this fall, don't you?
Yeah, that new series, the local IQ series that the international tours are putting on, I've got the rest of those. I think I've got 3 more regular season events, and then I've got some Monday qualifiers for Korn Ferry events. And then I don't know, my schedule, the COVID thing really affected scheduling. Usually you could, even in the mini tours, which ones you're going to play and you can plan out, but my schedule is kind of, you need piecemeals together as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to wish you good luck, because I know that's going to be something big. What I really want to do, we're going to do a speed round here in a minute. I've got some things I'm going to throw at you and see how quick your mind is.
All right.
But before we do that, I want to just say thanks for a lot of things. One, for your commitment to Baylor initially, for your belief in me and what I was trying to build here, and for the way you took instruction and coaching. You weren't the model student athlete because you had this battle you had to fight, but everybody's fighting a battle. And you ended up winning more battles than you lost, which is great. But I just want to say thanks, because not everybody wants to be coached. And those that do get better, and those that do actually end up achieving things that they want. So we'll always have a great relationship. I'll always be your college coach, so that ain't never going to change. And I just want to thank you, Garrett, for coming on today as well.
Thank you. Thank you for coaching me.
Absolutely.
I know it's hard.
It was great. I loved it. All right, we're going to do a little speed round here, and you feel free to expound a little bit on these, but I'm going to throw them at you as quickly as we can here. Okay, your favorite PGA Tour player?
It's got to be Tiger Woods, but I really enjoy watching Rory and Dustin Johnson play. It's just really fun. They seem to have a different game than anybody else.
I would enjoy it if I hit 350 down the middle, too.
It's ridiculous.
Come on.
DJ with the little slap cut that he hits, and Rory with just,
dead straight.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite food before a round of golf?
Oh, man, I really don't know. I ate Cliff Bars on the golf course, but I got to have something sweet before the round.
French toast.
I had French toast this morning, yeah. But
any superstitions in golf?
I'm not a big superstitious person, but I do, whether I do it by design or not, I kind of do the same things every time before I play.
So you got a routine.
Yeah, I always have coffee in the morning, no matter when I tee off. I do the same things. I have a routine.
Okay. Favorite movie?
I really don't know. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to superhero movies, so I guess anything Marvel related. I know you don't like it because it's not real life. But,
that's not real life. I need real life. Okay, but that's fine. Marvel comics.
Cinderella Man actually is.
Thank you.
It's
great
really
movie.
good.
Great movie.
Yeah, that's
great
one
movie.
of my favorites too.
Favorite athlete, non-golfer?
Russell Wilson.
Okay.
His mental. I've read a couple things on him, and his mental game, the way he goes about it, is just. It's second to none. He's really cool.
Yeah, I like Russell Wilson. Favorite music?
I listen to music strictly for my mood. So whatever makes my mood better or fits my mood, whether that be rap, whether that be rock, whether it be... I'm not a country person. I cannot stand country music.
Well, see, there's where we're
yeah,
that's a problem. I got a problem with you there.
I can't do country music, but whatever makes my mood better.
All right, good mood music. Okay, what is a tournament you'd most like to win?
U.S. Open.
U.S. Open.
Some people, that's going to be weird because some people would say, oh, why not the Masters? Mm-hmm. Like, I'd want to win the U.S. Open over the Masters.
Okay.
Just because U.S. Open, toughest test in golf. If you want to win, you got to have everything great. And I play golf because I want to kick people's ass.
Oh, there you go.
And the U.S. Open does that.
It will do that every time. You're right. Biggest phobia?
Spiders.
Spiders, wow.
Can't stand spiders.
I hate spiders too. We have that in common.
I know.
Favorite golf course you've played?
Olympia Fields. I could play a golf course.
Well, you and I were definitely on target. It was really neat to watch the BMW a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my gosh!
Just to see that golf course. Yeah.
Beat 'em up.
Favorite pro sports team?
I don't know. I watch so many. I'm a fan of a lot of them.
He's on the fence, ladies and gentlemen.
On the fence.
All right, dream foursome. You and 3 others. Who are they going to be?
Tiger Woods for sure.
Yeah, get you.
Jack Nicklaus.
Jack.
Rory.
Ooh, nice. You want to see the...
I just got to see it in person.
Okay, I love it. That's great. Favorite Coach McGraw quirk? Favorite thing that I do that's a little odd?
My favorite or the most annoying thing?
Well, maybe the most annoying.
I always remember vividly in every practice round, we'd be on the putting green and we're getting ready to go to the next hole. And we might be on the green for 30 seconds and you're like, okay, boys, on to the next one. Sick and embarrassed. It just kept us going along. You said that every time.
I hate slow practice rounds. Get your work done.
No, I'm with you.
On to the next one.
I guess another one would just be if I ask you how you're doing, you say, if I'm any better, I'd be twins. Still don't understand that. I, to this day, will never understand it, but that's what you said.
It would take another one just like me to be better than I am. I'd have to be 2 of me. Come on, Garrett.
Okay.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Better Than I Found It. I'd like to think you and I both left our situation better than we saw it the first time we met.
Yep.
And this is a lifelong relationship, so let's keep it going.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Hopefully I can do one of these again when I win a tour event.
I'll have you on. I'm hold you to that one, Garrett.
Perfect.
All right. Have a good day.
See you, Coach.
Bye. Thank you for joining me again on the Better Than I Found It podcast today. Also, I'd like to make you aware that my book, Better Than I Found It, is again available on Amazon.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on Better Than I Found It.